Hey, it's your old pal Lucid Stu again, and I am next to the California High-Speed Rail right-of-way at Pond Road in California's Central Valley. Last year in 2024, I took a trip from Anaheim to San Francisco to see the California High-Speed Rail route for myself. This is the one-year anniversary of that trip, and I'm at it again. Come along with me and we'll check out the progress over the last year on this high-speed rail route. Let's go. We will depart Pond Road near Wasco, California, and we'll head for Bakersfield. That is the southern end of the 171-mile initial operating segment terminating in the north at Merced. We're starting bright and early on Golden State Avenue just southeast of the Kern River. This is the neighborhood where the California High-Speed Rail Bakersfield station will reside. That station is on the left, but we will shortly turn on F Street to get a better look. Nothing much has changed here from last year, but if all goes according to plan, the entire area on the right side of the screen could eventually be transformed into something like this. The station will be situated on viaduct to cross quite a few roads through Bakersfield. Viaduct height has recently been cut by 20 feet to save money, and stations valley-wide have been cut down to 2 tracks from 4 on opening of the initial operating segment, currently planned for 2033. That would then be expanded to the original full station scope once Phase 1 Anaheim to San Francisco were completed at some undetermined point in the future.
Gone before.
Originally, the Bakersfield station was also planned to feature a large bus depot like the one found at the current downtown Amtrak station. However, other value engineering decisions concerning the stations are still being determined, and it's presently unclear if the bus depot will be present in 2033. The city of Bakersfield is planning to develop the immediate surrounding area as dense mixed use, but there has been no movement on that as of yet. Bakersfield is a growing city of 400,000, the 9th largest in the state. For the iOS, California High-Speed Rail will proceed out of Bakersfield to the northwest in the vicinity of Golden State Avenue and State Route 99. Here at Roberts Lane, the route will pass through the area on High Viaduct, crossing over State Route 99 ahead, about where that water tower is on the left. From there, the route enters a large S-curve near 7th Standard Road, where 2 courteous denizens of Bakersfield nearly killed me last year. For some reason, I took a different route this year. This S-curve will transition from State Route 99 in Bakersfield to State Route 43 in the Shafter area. This footage south of Shafter is from one of the agricultural groves the route will cut through on the way. This is from last year, but only design has taken place on this segment, so nothing has changed on the ground. In Shafter, the route will travel in a trench, which doesn't currently exist, but will eventually carry both California High-Speed Rail and BNSF tracks through the town for about 4 miles. In these drone shots, that's about as far as the eye can see. The work is partially funded by a $200 million CRISI grant from 2023 and is part of the Bakersfield extension that will run south from the portions of the route that are currently under construction. In this shot looking north from Shafter, you can see the Merced Avenue overpass, which is the southernmost structure built for California High-Speed Rail so far. Construction Package 4 starts just south of that, to the right of the BNSF tracks running through the shot. Speaking of BNSF, a train showed up just in time to head for Merced Avenue and the CP4 railhead. On the way, we will pass Poplar Avenue, which is the southern extent of CP4. This is Merced Avenue. I will take that over the right-of-way to the east side where the CP4 railhead is located. The CP4 railhead is in an area connected to BNSF tracks where the materials for high-speed track and systems installation will be delivered. Right now, it's an area cleared out of fruit and nut trees and an enormous pad that will eventually hold 6 terminal tracks. It wasn't super early, and I shot this on a Wednesday, but there wasn't much happening at the time. Construction of the railhead is contracted out to BNSF, and it looks like they're moving right along. If you hear anyone talking about California high-speed rail laying track this year, the railhead is the track they're talking about. Notice the ramp for the turnout, BNSF tracks in the background, blank California high-speed rail guideway in the foreground. Last I heard, the railhead is expected to be done July 2025, and high-speed track laying on this CP4 section should start second quarter of 2026. It's worth mentioning that this connection is the southern end of a contingency plan to run trains between here and Madera 110 miles to the north if the Merced-Bakersfield iOS construction happens to fall through for some reason. Continuing on north from there between Shafter and Wasco is the Kimberlina overcrossing. This design is similar to the one you saw at Pond Road in the intro and is common in the Central Valley when the right-of-way is passing over two-lane roads. Then it's welcome to Wasco, with the Wasco Viaduct looming impressively behind the sign. Things haven't changed much at the Wasco Viaduct beyond access. This structure was completed in 2023. Last year they had a gate up, which I respected even though it was open. This year you can walk right up to the thing. They also put a huge banner up proclaiming that the CP4 segment is done. This seems to finally be true in regards to civil construction, with the last issues just now wrapped up in mid-2025. Remember this structure as a complete example. We'll see other similar ones in various stages of construction. Pretty from the ground, but even better from the air, this view is to the south. Off in the distance is Merced Avenue, where we just were. Looking the other way is Wasco, a city of about 30,000. Right here is where I ran afoul of the cliff swallow population. These birds are nimble, fast, aggressive, and do not like drones at all. You'll see several harassing my drone here, and later they actually chased it down to the ground, which I didn't record because I was trying not to ruin the trip one day into it. Luckily, these things are all over the San Joaquin Valley in May and love nesting on infrastructure. Now in Wasco on G Street with the California High-Speed Rail works to the right. It's a sleepy town, not much has changed. I even caught the same semi-feral neighborhood dog hanging out at nearly the same spot both years. Like the sign said, CP4 is substantially complete, so you're not going to see many changes here at the Poso Avenue undercrossing, although they have cleaned it up a little. This is aerial footage from the Wasco Amtrak station. This will not be a California high-speed rail station though. Looking south toward the Wasco Viaduct, you can see that smooth curve and ramp back down to ground level. Trains should be zooming through here at 200 miles per hour plus within a decade if things go well. To the north, farmland as far as the eye can see. This is probably the longest stretch in the entire 800-mile California high-speed rail concept, away from significant populations at about 35 miles until reaching the Corcoran area, but there is plenty to see on the way. Just past the McCombs overcrossing, you'll notice the route curves west away from BNSF tracks and State Route 43. That is near the Poso Creek Viaduct. Last year I stuck with State Route 43 to show you what the Central Valley was like. This year I explored a little more. That's how I ended up at Pond Road for the intro. Looking south, the structure in the midground is the Peterson Road overcrossing. That looks just like Pond Road. That line of trees near the brown patch in the background is Poso Creek. Then way back in the haze, I think that's Mount Pinos, which is about 9,000 feet high, 50 or 60 miles away. To the north, a big curve, a lot of farms, and a lot of flat land. About 4 miles to the northwest, and we're on Garces Highway, heading for the Garces Highway overcrossing, of course. Looks the same as Pond Road and the others. This is the northernmost structure on Construction Package 4, and that means we're heading into Construction Package 2-3 territory, where lots of changes are underway. Now we're back at State Route 43 heading north toward Allensworth and CP's 2-3. That wouldn't be complete without spotting a freight train, which also happened out there last year. North of Allensworth is our next big structure, the Deer Creek Viaduct. This structure is meant to be 3,000 feet long and will carry California high-speed rail tracks over a freight spur, a country road, and of course Deer Creek. Support columns were up last year, but you can see this year precast concrete girders that will eventually form the deck are mostly in place. From the air looking south, we can clearly see Deer Creek and the deck of the viaduct taking shape. The shiny area to the right is a solar farm and some spreading ponds. To the north, 2 years ago, the shores of Tulare Lake would have been off to the left, lapping against the California high-speed rail right-of-way. After heavy flooding, it covered about 150 square miles, and only 2 years later, it is completely gone again. When will it return next? Back to State Route 43, about 5 miles further north, we're coming up on the future Avenue 120 overcrossing. Earthworks look close to done there. This was not even started when I was through there last year. Just north of that is the Tule River Viaduct, an impressive and massive structure at 3,600 feet long. This will carry California high-speed rail tracks from the west side of BNSF tracks to the east side while crossing Deer Creek, Poplar Avenue, and SR 43. In terms of progress, the deck is now done and they put in the viaduct base for parts away from the pergola structure. We'll look at the Conejo Viaduct later, which is a bit further along than this one, and you'll see next steps. This one though is about where the Deer Creek Viaduct will want to be next year. In the air, I kept my distance due to cliff swallows and a lack of closer launch sites. Looking north, you can see Corcoran in the background here and how the right-of-way curves around it to the east. Coming into Corcoran on State Route 43, there is a large earthen mound by this water tank that wasn't there last year. Let's investigate. This is a viaduct ramp that is meant to bring Wakena Avenue over the alignment and an irrigation canal, then connect it to Orange Avenue, which leads to SR 43 and the main part of Corcoran. Corcoran is a city of 22,000, probably best known for its large state prison. The California high-speed rail right-of-way is at ground level here, and they are currently grading it, which you can see in this amazing action shot from outside of my passenger door window. Another Corcoran area wonder is the State Route 43 overcrossing. Last year it was difficult to tell what they were doing here. The road had been realigned, but the rest had barely been touched. This year, these huge mounds have sprung up where State Route 43 will fly over the California high-speed rail right-of-way, which continues off to the left at ground level in a massive 6-mile radius curve. The equally massive structures necessary to get 2-lane country roads over that arc can be seen on the left as we proceed north on State Route 43 toward Hanford. That arc turns into an equally huge S-curve which sweeps back under State Route 43 about 6 miles south of the Hanford station site. Last year there was an endless string of dirt hauling trucks building up the ramps to carry State Route 43 over the California high-speed rail right-of-way once more. This year that is done, and the structure to carry the road between those earthen ramps is well underway. 6 miles further north, we now find ourselves in the Hanford area, and we are transitioning from State Route 43 to State Route 198 for the big reveal. What looked like a ruin last year now looks much more like a structure, with most of the precast concrete girders in place and work on the deck well underway as we pass under the Hanford Viaduct. This massive 6,300 foot long structure looks even more massive now in this more complete state. This huge viaduct will eventually carry 4 tracks over State Route 198, Union Pacific right-of-way, and a 2-lane road, as well as host the Kings Tulare station before returning to ground level on both ends. This station site is located 3 miles from downtown Hanford, a city of about 55,000. Plans for the site are up in the air at the moment due to previously mentioned value engineering. Previous plans had a fairly basic 4-track station with a bus depot surrounded by surface parking and a solar farm. Here is the official rendering, but you can probably tear that up and the bus depot might be out until Phase 1 is done. There is also the possibility of commuter rail on those Union Pacific tracks stopping here at some point in the future. Off to the north, the route heads for Fresno, so let's make our way there, back on State Route 43 with a few stops. On the way out of Hanford is a staging area for the Hanford Viaduct. Last year this was full of precast concrete girders. Most of those are gone this year and now placed on the structure. 10 miles north of there, we are still on State Route 43 as the California High-Speed Rail route curves in from either side. Where the two meet is the State Route 43 Tide Arch Bridge. Another truly massive structure. Last year it was just barely started with the abutments and false work in place. This year the deck is complete and the forms for the concrete arches are just about ready to go. Time to leave State Route 43 for good. We will go west to hook up with the Conejo Viaduct. This is now Conejo Boulevard traveling west toward the tiny town of Conejo. Last year I was fortunate enough to come upon this structure just as a freight train was rolling through. No such luck this year. The Conejo Viaduct will eventually convey the route from one side of BNSF tracks to the other. Moving around the structure, the main differences I'm seeing from last year are that the deck of the pergola is done, the false work has been removed, they're starting to place the precast track foundation pieces onto the viaduct sections, and some of the sound wall has been completed. From the air and looking to the south, you see the route curving in from State Route 43. I can't make out the Tide Arch Bridge, but you can see a few completed structures between the two. Looking north, we see the completed Mountain View Avenue overcrossing, and then the route curves north toward Fresno, which is just beyond the haze on the horizon. In this area, California High-Speed Rail and BNSF will run parallel for 11 miles to the southern edge of Fresno. One interesting feature of this arrangement is that necessary curve smoothing will force the California High-Speed Rail right-of-way to crisscross the former location of BNSF tracks. To make this work, BNSF tracks were shifted to the east, which is most visibly demonstrated at Manning Avenue, 5 miles south of Fresno in this drone shot looking south. Looking north at the incomplete Manning overpass, the old BNSF tracks are being stripped out, and a California High-Speed Rail high-speed curve will occupy the middle lane here. 5 miles closer to Fresno, looking south from the Cedar Viaduct, we see several completed overpasses and the Muscat Viaduct. By the way, this area marks the northern extent of construction packages 2-3 and the beginning of CP1. I braved the cliff swallows to attempt to duplicate a California High-Speed Rail Authority drone shot, and it was worth it. The Cedar Viaduct is remarkably free of graffiti so far, considering the only thing keeping people out is a chain link fence. Once through there, we finally manage a view of downtown Fresno. Fresno is a city of 550,000 in a metro area twice that size, making it the 5th largest city and 7th largest metro in California. It is the largest of both on the initial operating segment. While we run through an obligatory montage of the Cedar Viaduct, let's review a few things that have happened with the project in the last year. CEO Brian Kelly departed and was replaced by CEO Ian Chowdhury in August. Chowdhury has a lifetime of experience in project management, but we're still waiting for that to be reflected in results. In February, the Trump administration went to LA Union Station to make a big deal out of initiating a project review, and just this month they decided they would layeth the smacketh down by holding up $4 billion in federal grants. The authority is already $7 billion short on the iOS, so that could hurt. Will California respond in a way that keeps the project afloat? We'll see. Right now, the governor is talking about $1 billion a year in cap and trade funds through 2045, which is tepid, but would do the job eventually. Speaking of eventually, the California High-Speed Rail Authority unveiled the Southwest High-Speed Rail concept from Las Vegas, Nevada to Gilroy, California, that it hopes to use to fund construction from Gilroy to Palmdale but we'll talk about that in a separate video coming soon. For now, back to Fresno. The route will enter the area from the southwest so that trains can stop in lovely downtown Fresno. Checking out the situation from the west side of the tracks at G Street once again, still a hive of activity as preparation of the Fresno Station area continues. Last year, BNSF tracks had been moved into a shoe fly to make room for work on the Tulare Street undercrossing. That work is done, BNSF is back to normal, and now crews are working on structures to get California high-speed rail right-of-way over Tulare Street into the Fresno Station site. Eventually, this scene might look like this, but it might be a while with stations being value engineered until Phase 1 Anaheim to San Francisco opens up. As far as I've read, the Fresno station will probably be the most feature complete in 2033, including a planned bus depot. Meanwhile, the surrounding old Chinatown area awaits patiently to be redeveloped. Trains will move out of Fresno to the northwest under the Tuolumne and Stanislaus Street bridges. Then it's under State Route 180 and through the Fresno Trench, which has been sitting unused for so long it's now half full of dirt. The route then heads under the new Belmont Avenue overcrossing, which opened 2 days after I was out there, otherwise I would have driven over it. The rest of the way out of Fresno, California high-speed rail tracks will displace Golden State Boulevard. We will drive some of that starting here at Olive Avenue. There is a lot more activity over here than last year as the new Golden State Boulevard roadway is prepped on the left-hand side of your screen. When that's done, the old roadway gets ripped out and replaced with a fast train. New in this section is the McKinley Avenue overcrossing, which is still in early stages. A little further northwest and Golden State briefly merges with State Route 99. Train siding opportunities will be amazing with nothing more than this 4-foot barrier separating you from a train accelerating to 220 miles per hour out of the area. This is also a good spot to view the absurdly robust 4-foot thick, 14-foot high concrete wall the freights demanded be built in places where California high-speed rail is adjacent to their track. Not much difference here year over year, looks like they mainly cleaned up the guideway. As mentioned last year, this part of the freeway was realigned to the west to make room for the California high-speed rail right-of-way. That was one of the first things completed in 2019. Back off the freeway and back onto Golden State Boulevard, this section is much longer than the other, but I will spare you the entire thing since it's mostly more of the same. One thing worth noting is that they're working on the new roadway the whole distance now, whereas it was mostly untouched other than around Veterans Boulevard. Speaking of that, coming down from Veterans Boulevard to Golden State Boulevard, we spot the forms for the enormous concrete walls just laying around. Anyone want a free 20-ton concrete form? We will depart Golden State Boulevard and Fresno by merging back onto State Route 99. I went this way to get you all a better view of the San Joaquin River Viaduct. This structure over Union Pacific tracks and across the San Joaquin River has been done since 2021, so there is nothing new to report other than it being graffiti-free this time, and they managed to color match the paint they're using to cover it up, which is one of the most impressive things I've seen on the project. Out of Fresno to the north, the alignment starts curving north on its way back toward BNSF tracks in Madera, as evidenced by this lonely structure on Avenue 9 just east of the freeway. 4 miles north of there is the site for the future Madera station being developed not by the California High-Speed Rail Authority, but the San Joaquin Joint Powers Authority, which is a local entity that oversees train service in the area. That station will be wedged between Avenues 12 and 13. We're briefly back at Avenue 12 where nothing has changed since last year, still looking pretty lonesome out there as we gaze off to the right where the future Madera station will be. Now at Avenue 13 and taking to the air, we're looking south and you can see the intermediate structures on Avenues 10 through 12. Those are all done. This is the future station site. Nothing here now, but this is the eventual plan. As far as I know, California High-Speed Rail Authority value engineering does not apply here, so this station may be as feature complete as the Fresno station in 2033, even though it's comparatively remote. Turning to the north, you'll briefly glimpse the Cottonwood Creek Viaduct before taking aim at Madera in the distance, the center of which is 5 miles from this Madera station site. You also have the completed Avenue 15 and 15.5 overcrossings to the right, and if you squint, you can just make out the Fresno River Viaduct 4 miles away. Let's head on over there. Driving under the thing doesn't look any different, so I took to the air to try to recreate the shot everyone used, trying to say this thing cost $11 billion by itself back in May of 2024 when California High-Speed Rail caught fire on social media for a couple of hours. Looking to the south toward the Madera station site, you can clearly see it is no longer an isolated structure connected to a pretty complete looking right-of-way on both ends. The structures off to the left are the Avenues 15 and 15.5 overcrossings. Another 4 miles northeast will make our last stop in Madera at the Road 26 overcrossing. Construction is humming along next to the odd little Amtrak station here, which is tucked into a subdivision on the far northern end of the city. Just another mammoth structure. There really is nothing small about this project. The more you see it in person, the more you appreciate the scale and audacity of it all. At the same time, it seems a little big for a bridge meant to carry a 2-lane road through a neighborhood. Now on the station platforms looking southeast, we can see the completed Lake Street overcrossing. Beyond that, unseen, is the Avenue 17 overcrossing, which along with the Road 26 bridge and area guideway are the last civil pieces yet to be completed in Madera. This is the northern extent of Construction Package 1. This is also where the previously mentioned contingency plan would reconnect with BNSF tracks. As we quickly turn to the north, everything from here on out is part of the Merced extension. Out of Madera, the route will curve to the west to meet up with State Route 152 9 miles away. That will happen here at the junction of State Route 152 and State Route 99, with future California High-Speed Rail Viaduct passing east to west about 1,000 feet in front of this curve. The route will then run next to State Route 152 on the north side or the right-hand side of your screen. This footage is from last year, approaching Road 15. Just past here, the California High-Speed Rail route will leave State Route 152 and start curving north toward Merced. Once that curve is complete, the route will run on the east side of Road 11, seen here. The area out here is composed nearly entirely of fruit and nut trees, but they'll still manage to blow through one house where the road dips down into the creek bed here. The route will continue along Road 11 near ground level until curving northwest to meet State Route 99 again on the way to Merced. The route links up with Union Pacific right-of-way once more near the La Grande and State Route 99 interchange, seen here. The California High-Speed Rail Authority recently received a $90 million grant to rework the roads here and build an overpass that will extend La Grande over Union Pacific and California High-Speed Rail tracks to the southwest in the future. The high-speed tracks will run on the far side of the Union Pacific tracks, seen here. 4 miles further up the road at Mission Avenue, we're finally coming into Merced, a city of 90,000, with California High-Speed Rail tracks still parallel with Union Pacific. That remains the case all the way into the Merced station site 3 miles away, so we'll jump to there. We're now turning onto 15th Street in downtown Merced, heading southeast. The Merced station will occupy 3 square blocks between 15th, 16th, R Street, and O Street. In this shot, that means the area off to the left. The tracks will come into this area from the southeast, which is straight ahead in our view. The tracks in the station will be elevated, and everything on the left side of the view will be demolished. With value engineering, it's difficult to say what the station will look like on open. Height will likely be reduced a few feet, and the large entrance plaza and building featured in this rendering will likely wait until Phase 1 completion. Merced is important because this station will act as a transfer point to many trains and buses from there to the East Bay and Sacramento. Demolition of the area between 15th Street and Union Pacific tracks would continue all the way to the freeway and beyond. I didn't get footage of all of that last year, so I wanted to cover it this year. Here is O Street. That is the eastern extent of the station. It'll be demolition and viaduct from here on out. That includes our beloved In-N-Out Burger at 15th and MLK Way. Here you non-In-N-Out havers get a taste of the place being so busy that the drive-through line is bleeding out onto the street. It was even busier when I tried to go back later for dinner. Where shall In-N-Out go? What shall In-N-Out do? Coming up on G Street, this road will most likely be closed to allow California high-speed rail tracks to cross under a reconstructed State Route 99 freeway up ahead. Beyond the freeway, D Street here would also be closed, and the route would head southeast to parts we've already seen. Seems like a good place to stop. Well, there you have it, a full description of the 171-mile Central Valley California high-speed rail interim operating segment from Merced to Bakersfield and the changes that have taken place over the last year. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. There are more to come. Up next, we'll cover the route from Merced to San Francisco, including a ride on the newly electrified Caltrain from San Jose to San Francisco. But that's all for now. Until next time, I'll see you on that big, beautiful freeway.